BCSTA has advocated for several measures to address staffing shortages in schools. How do you plan to address the shortage of qualified teachers and education assistants in public schools? So again, BCSTA has advocated for several measures to address staffing shortages in schools. How do you plan to address the shortage of qualified teachers and education assistants in public schools? Okay. Minister Singh, we'll start with you.
No, thank you so much. We know that our communities are growing. That is a great thing, but also it brings its set of challenges as well. There is a labor shortage, and I've talked to a number of colleagues all across Canada. This is not something just unique to BC. This is something that is felt across Canada and, in fact, globally. So working very closely with our education partners, how to address this issue. I have been having discussions with the BC Teachers Council to how they can speed up the certification process, especially when it comes to the foreign trained teachers and staff, like how we can make sure that the barriers are removed so that they can get into the education system as soon as possible. Also putting in the resources, I really want to mention the rural and remote communities. The challenges that they are facing are even more unique than what we see in the urban areas, and making investments of, I know the ministry has made investments and given incentives to hire teachers, and I'm very proud to say that with those incentives that we are able to hire more than 50 teachers in those areas. Your districts have seen those differences with the investments that the ministry has made, but also like making the training more accessible, especially hiring Indigenous teachers, making it easier for them to be trained in their own local communities. So we are making that easier too. So a lot of things happening to make the workforce making it more easier to hire.
Thank you, Minister. I will now ask MLA Sturko for her response.
Thank you. So, you know, it's a little bit difficult because we haven't released our platform yet, so I don't want to give any spoilers before we have a chance to make that announcement. But what I can say is that I do also echo a lot of the things that Minister Singh said. I had an opportunity actually to travel up to Fort St. John, listen to, on the ground, to members of the school district to talk to me about the challenges, especially in rural areas of recruitment and retention, particularly people who would stay there long term. So we need to continue to find creative solutions, which we will do and be announcing, to try to help, especially with hard to recruit areas. One of the other things that we have to consider too is that when we do recruit people, how do we retain them? You know, I had an opportunity to go and listen in a bit at the AGM for the BC Teachers Federation. One of the things they brought up is teacher wellness, the stress that they're feeling, particularly post-pandemic with the overcrowding in schools, teacher shortages. We really have to make sure that we are doing some key things to support educators at every level so that once we do get them into the system, that they're there for the long haul, that they feel supported, and that they want to be a part of education in BC. So that's going to be a big part of it. So, you know, I think really the solutions coming at the ground level instead of a top-down dictator approach. We want to listen to the people who have the real frontline experience and find out what they really think are the solutions to end the teacher shortage crisis that we have in British Columbia.
Thank you, MLA Sturko. As I said in my opening comments, these cards can be used twice, and MLA Furstenau, you waved it at me, so go ahead for up to 1 minute.
So when I started teaching, the retention rate was about 50% of teachers were leaving in their first 5 years of teaching. I expect it's probably similar or worse now. I think that really focusing on the conditions for teachers coming into classrooms for their first few years, having mentorship, having team-based approach to teaching. It's very lonely to be a first-year teacher in a classroom. It's very hectic. It's a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. And I think finding ways, as Elenore and Minister Singh both indicated, to support and retain, but really listening to those early year teachers about what they need to be able to be convinced to stay in the system, because if we're losing 50% of our teachers in the first 5 years, then all of that investment that's going into educating and training and mentoring is also lost when they leave. So let's really focus on how are we keeping new teachers coming into the system.